Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. Say hello.
Welcome to the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Weldie and Andrew here, set to recap another weekend of Husky hockey for the men's and women's. And I am back into my normal setup. I got all my tech issues figured out. And I want to thank everybody who chimed in and gave me such helpful responses, such as jiggling the handle and also making sure it's plugged in. So those were things that I did do and I did check. They weren't the root issue, but they were things that I did check. But we're all good to go. Turns out I had to disconnect the CMOS battery or the CMOS battery. I've never heard of it before, but apparently it's a little round battery that's on your motherboard. And you disconnect it, clears the cache, put it back in. So I had that was not something that I was able to do last episode. I already kept Andrew waiting about a half hour past his bedtime on the West Coast. I can't even say West Coast in the West time zone.
We can't see the coast from here anyway, so
no, you can see Oceanside though, right? Or no?
I'm a couple hours away from Oceanside in Tempe, which is nowhere near the ocean.
Okay, so exactly. So, but I'm back. I'm set up. So a little bit of panic.
CMOS, or you just took it out, blew on it, and then put it back in.
Yeah, exactly. Just took it out, put it back in. So
CMOS is my favorite Dumb and Dumber character.
Oh, thought it was Seabass.
No, it was his brother. There is a Seabass. That's Cam Neely's character, but little known fact, his brother is CMOS. So also in that scene in the diner.
I did not know that that he had a name.
Well, he does now, and it's CMOS.
That's perfect. Sounds good. And everybody also who chimed in being like, oh my gosh, only an hour 8. What is everything okay? Health scare, whatnot. Everything's
what could possibly explain this relatively normal length of a podcast,
right?
This
exactly.
Non-insane collection of ramblings and drivel.
But I do come bearing gifts, and I do come with some good news. So with that, let's kick off the show.
So we're talking about whiskey today.
Whiskey.
Costco really should be sponsoring our show. I mean, because
at least give me a free membership at this point, right?
You texted me the picture, and I did. I LOL'd.
We have a brand new 24-pack Volume 2 edition. Actually says Volume 2 or Second Edition. Whiskeys of the World. So I think I think everybody loved the first one so much. They wanted to run it back. So
the Electric Boogaloo.
Exactly. So guess what? I've got 24 new whiskeys to enjoy. And
that's
all of
24 more weeks. That's about the bulk of this season.
There you go.
So basically, this will fill 10 minutes. You're wondering about how quickly our show went last week. We're finding ways to eat up 10 spare minutes here with this bit every single week. That Weldie gets to sip whiskey. I don't, but Weldie does. And 24
if you want, you can get a Costco membership. Go find your local Costco that has it. If it is
couple steps there, I don't. You lost me. I buy a Costco membership. So
this one
on the rest of that.
First edition came with 2 lowball glasses, and this one they have upgraded to 2 new snifters. So got some. So we're traveling first, kicking it off. Whiskeys of the World. We're traveling to India.
And you verified that these are 24 unique brands from the first set.
Completely different.
So what are we doing? Are we doing 24? Are we doing a new ranking of 24, or are we just going to add these rankings into the grand spreadsheet?
What I'm doing here is I've got one side that's the first edition and one side that's the second, and I'm just going to kind of compare with countries, and maybe something kind of stands out that maybe I'm sleeping on, like the Australia whiskey scene. But I've got it as a master sheet. And
you do have the volume 1 samplings to reference as well. So, like, did we have an India in the first pack?
We did. And it was India. It was Piccadilly was the whiskey the first time, and I gave it a 6.3.
See, so this is already almost tainting the integrity, because you're using your previous rankings of countries and brands.
I can disassociate. No. I am an equal
free
opportunity whiskey enjoyer here. That I can make sure that I've got the right. I can go in with a clear mind.
Now, you said Piccadilly was the first. So are we keeping the brand secret until the end, like we did the first pack, or are we divulging that information?
I mean, I've got the bottle here. It's your call.
I am kind of curious.
Okay, this is Paul John, is what this is called, which is not a very India name.
Well, they used to British Raj. There was some British influence there for quite some time. Perhaps Mr. John.
Of course there is. And now I just spilled it all over the place.
Oh my goodness! We have a whiskey malfunction over. Don't tell me that this
over my keyboard.
On the electronics.
God, already my electronics is
bad voodoo.
Yep, exactly.
I don't know if that's an Indian thing, but apologies if it is.
So
it's a bad sign, my friend.
You know, it's pretty funny because I spilled it, but I didn't spill the actual glass I'm going to drink out of. That is still fine. But it was the little excess of the little bottle. So I haven't even started drinking yet.
And it's kind of the curse of the sequel. Already in the first act.
Already.
We've got out of nowhere conflict and sort of Deus Ex Machina. It's trying too hard already. You know, not even one whiskey sampling in.
Not even. So
all right, Mr. Well, John. Paul John.
Paul John. Ooh, that's unique.
That's usually not a good sign
flavor
for you.
Right off the hop. You know, it's actually
unique is not a word that you usually say when you're saying it's good.
That is correct. However, it's a little harsh up front, but after it goes in, it kind of smooths out, and it's pretty good. I think we're starting off pretty good here.
Rating?
I'm going to go with a 7-1.
It's a pretty good leadoff hitter, you know. Not knocking out of the park, but getting on first base and a threat to steal.
That's a good, maybe an opposite field single right there.
It's like Chuck Knobloch style.
There we go.
Good on base percentage.
Good on base percentage. You get on base. So, but, and once I just dabble up my keyboard a little bit, let's go ahead and talk about the first series. Well, first off, you had a giveaway. Actually, should we give the giveaway? What do you think?
We had our third Husky ticket giveaway. Successful as always. Congratulations to Eric C. Well, one of our longtime listeners. He goes back to the first iteration of the show. I did not know from Norwood, Young America, which he includes is the longest city name in the state. NYA.
I did not know they were two different cities. I thought one was.
Well, no, it is one. America. They merged, according to Wikipedia. They merged in 1997.
97. Wow.
So
Okay.
it used to be Norwood, and then it used to be Young America.
Mhm.
Young America, inspired, of course, by the great David Bowie song in the 70s, Young Americans. Only Minnesota town named after a David Bowie single. But then in 97, they decided to join forces. And
Well,
now
that's
they're
only because
one
we didn't
giant-
know Major Tom actually.
ground control had lost contact.
Yep, exactly.
But now they're together, back together again, and really kicking ass there in Carver County, I'm going to say. But so he's got a little bit of a drive to come up to this weekend's game against the Western Michigan Broncos. But congrats to Eric. He did include a question in his victory email, which I guess we'll just shove off until questions. But this is what we like to see out of correspondence to the show. Entering contests, including questions. This is a dialogue between. We're not just
maybe
sitting
a
here
picture
on
from the seat or enjoying a beer at the game.
We would really like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know how you like the seats, especially like, is this a seat that you like? Would you sit in this seat if it wasn't given to you for free? Because if we want to do this next year and more people are like, I want to be closer, I can make that happen. So any feedback, positive or negative, if there was a drunk person next to you, let us know that kind of stuff, because that goes into
well, don't bring him next time. Oh, no. You mean, okay. Or bring him again, actually. That's
so yeah. We appreciate.
You know what? Let's just. What's the question? If we're talking about it now, let's just hammer it out right now.
We can incorporate it. I suppose I was just going to say we don't have a drawing this show because the men's team are not going to be playing at the Herb until December. Really loaded up there. I mean, they're after this weekend, they'll have played more than half. Yeah, more. They play exactly one half of their home schedule after November 1st. Lots of home games early in the season, but they don't play at home until December. And so our next giveaway, we don't want to forget about the women's games as well. So we're going to do a ticket giveaway for the women's series against Wisconsin, which is coming up mid-November. So we'll do that giveaway next show with all the details, and we'll give out a passcode. But no passcode this weekend, this show. So if you were listening just for a passcode, I guess you can stop listening. Don't do that. Why would you
Don't do that?
Would not want to stop listening to the show, because we can segue into talking about those Huskies. And Eric's question, I think, is a good lead-in to talking about the men's series. He has one name on here, but it's a name more from Huskies of yesteryear. His question, do you guys remember a team led by a young scorer like this in recent memory? Brodzy's all I can think of. I am assuming he's talking about Austin Brnovic, who's up to 8 now, right? On the year. And several of those on the power play, many of them this year on the power play for him. Leading the team in goal scoring. He's up in the nationwide lead at this early stage of the season in goal scoring. And he's ripping 2 of them on one-timers, basically from the same spot. He's perfected that shot from the right dots at the one-timer position. Both Anchorage goalies that he beat this weekend on that play in particular had no chance. I don't think they saw the puck at all. To answer his question, as far as young scorers, I mean, Brnovic is a sophomore. I mean, he was a leading scorer of this team last year. It's not saying much because this team barely could score. But in terms of just freshmen and a guy this young who's leading the offense by this margin, is there any other names that you would throw out there to sort of just start in on the weekend here with the recapping the men's fairly easy sweep of Anchorage this weekend?
I mean, obviously, the one that sticks out to me is Ryan Lash. And if you go Lash, his sophomore campaign, he ended up with 53 points in 40 games, 25 goals, 28 assists. Brodzinski, as a sophomore, he had 21. Patrick Russell, as a sophomore, also he had 20. Gordo had 20. So yeah, I mean, we're talking, it's been a long time, 10 years or so, since we've had a young, prolific scorer such as this. Brodzinski's freshman campaign, 22 goals, 11 assists, a little bit of Cy Young numbers right there.
Nodals, 2 years. I think he led the team in both years.
Mm-hmm. So, I also don't want to shy away from Blake Lizotte as well. He had 14 goals, but 28 assists that season in that 18-19 campaign. And he had a 20% shot percentage. So, but yeah, as far as, just a dynamic playmaker and somebody who's able to put the puck in the net, kind of in different, we can talk about the one-timer here, but also, down low, he had the play where he was able to kind of clean up the garbage in front and go backhand and get that shot in. We've seen him dangle, especially last year for a goal of the year nominee against Miami. So it's, it's just nice to see him as a dynamic playmaker because, there was a little bit of me was a little bit nervous of him coming in that he wouldn't live up to some expectations and some hype, because if you recall, he was kind of on the cusp in and out of that World Junior team in the National Development Program. And didn't have the best World Junior showing either. So it was a little bit, I was a little dicey there. Not gonna lie, but obviously he's adapted incredibly well to the college game, and we really saw that on hand here this weekend.
Yeah, definitely nice to see. He's always going to be. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about all around 200-foot players, so to speak. Barrett Hall and Tyson Gross really kind of come to mind there. Bernevik's not really in that conversation. He's not someone that we think of first right off the bat in terms of like back checking, for instance, but not every player needs to do that. There's roles on the team that players develop into. And if if his role is just sniper and scorer, I don't really care. He'll loaf on the back end of the ice if he's going to put up 30 goals. Something close to a goal a game, which he's doing right now, more than a goal a game. I'm not really looking to have a 200-foot player from him, which isn't to say that he actually does loaf. I hate to bring that up in terms of when we're talking about him, because he's just looked like he's improved over the offseason, even after, which we thought was an impressive freshman season as well. But especially with that one-timer, it seems to really be clicking right now. They're not going to come as easy, I think, when we're talking about Anchorage versus like this weekend against Western Michigan. The competition that they faced over this first month of the schedule, it has not been a very difficult schedule, relatively speaking. So the increased level of competition, we'll be able to see exactly how much of a step Bernavik and others like Hall, others that we've kind of praised so far earlier in the season, especially like the young guys like Rode and Ernest who have looked really good too, see how that translates into NCHC play, which is just inherently more difficult than the Vermonts and the Anchorages of the world. But for a series this past weekend, Anchorage, I don't think you're going to see a worse team on the schedule this year. Anything less than comfortable margins of victory in both of these games was going to be a disappointment. I mean, thankfully, I don't think there was a point in these games that was in doubt. And again, Anchorage looked bad. I mean, there was not a good team. They are going to be one of the 5 worst teams in college hockey. They'll be in the running for 63rd out of 63rd, or out of 63 this year. So you did what you needed to do against a team like that. I think it was Larson they were quoting on the broadcast, either the KVSC that I listened to on Saturday or maybe the TV broadcast on Friday, maybe both, had mentioned that Larson wanted to have six winning periods this weekend. I'm not sure if they necessarily did that, like that last period on Saturday, kind of coasting. And I think Anchorage outscored them in that period, but I don't really care. You don't need to expend all of your energy across 6 periods to beat a team like Anchorage. I'm happy with conserving a little bit of that because you're going to need that this coming weekend against Western Michigan. So, yeah, and you didn't beat them. 14-2 was with the margin victory that Bemidji beat them in their first series this year. It wasn't that lopsided, but still, games weren't in doubt. You scored some even strength goals, which we've been harping on this team. Their ability to score even strength is a weakness that they need to clean up as they head into conference play. The power play is still cooking. 40+%. It's driven your offense to this point. Defense looked good. You had Tanner Henricks was hurt, which is always not great, but that did open the door for a guy like Joe Belisle and Caleb Thiessen to crack the lineup this weekend. I was actually impressed by both performances from those young defensemen that we haven't seen yet so far this season. Hopefully that injury isn't going to keep him out of the lineup like this weekend. Like to have a guy like that in your lineup against the Broncos.
Yeah,
but,
to see pre-game injury or, just gave me a Dylan Hanhorn flashbacks. And,
was it something where he was suiting up and it was in pre-game skate that he got injured?
He was on the line chart, and that's the
really?
thing is, yeah. So that's the thing where it's like I don't exactly know what happened, and I'm sure, by the time this goes live, the coach's show would have been already on, so I'm sure that Jim Erickson would ask about that. So I'm sure that we'll have a little bit more details about that issue, but as of right now, yeah, just seeing them all of a sudden scratched and had to do a little bit of shuffling there prior to game. Thankfully, again, last game Anchorage, a team that really posed no problem. But also, it does also have to say, their program was suspended for a year and a lot of doubt about a lot. It's tough, Before it was pretty tough to recruit there. Now I can't even imagine the difficulty there. So, but it's I thought just all around solid play. We saw both goaltenders, which I don't think is that big of a surprise. So, and I thought both of them played pretty well. The only real issue is that third period, essentially on Saturday, just a march to the penalty box for the Huskies. The power play ended up giving up that goal late to spoil that Bruins shutout.
Yeah, and I'll give him a pass for maybe coasting in a third period situation. Just kind of playing out the string against the Seawolves, finishing out the sweep. It's always interesting the philosophy of your non-conference scheduling. Like last year, you took a different approach to the non-conference schedule where you kind of loaded up on some tough opponents with Michigan going out to Michigan and then hosting BC. Michigan, as it turned out, it wasn't that great of a team, missed the tournament. BC was the number 1 overall seed last year. And then he played a lot of the same teams, like the local teams. You played St. Thomas, you played Bemidji, you played Augustana for real last year. You just played them in the exhibition this year. But you're basically swapping out Vermont and Anchorage for Michigan and BC. The philosophy there is, I'm always one that iron sharpens iron. You want to play the best to prepare you for, especially this conference. The other side of that argument, though, is because the NCHC typically is so strong, do you really need to load up on a tough non-conference schedule And I mean, they did well in non-conference last year with that tough schedule, even going 1-3 in those games against Michigan and BC. You ran the table against everybody else. But that 7-3 record in non-conference, not like that really pretended well for your overall play, because they had their worst season in 20 years based on that, coming off of that non-conference schedule.
So I've got an idea. Let's move the non-conference schedule to January and February, where Larson historically is terrible.
That's well, I mean,
Done.
he is. They are playing the Cactus Cup in January this year, so part of that non-conference is going to be in that dreaded, was it January junk and February funk? That's what we've called it.
January junk and the February funk.
And I guess, I mean, if there's one team that might challenge Anchorage for the worst team you're going to play this year, if it wasn't already Vermont, it might be Yale, which you're going to see in Palm Springs. Who doesn't look? They haven't taken the ice yet, but they're probably not going to be very good either, picked as the last place ECAC team. But as far as if you want to have let's say a relatively softer non-conference schedule that they have this year, the benefit there, if there is one, is that you're gaining confidence for your young guys, your freshmen. And we've kind of seen that, guys like Rode and Ernest, Henricks. We saw Finn Loftus get a goal this weekend. They've all gotten off the schneid in terms of they've already scored their first NCAA goal. Sometimes just the wait to get to the first one is the biggest hump that they need to get over. So getting opportunities to rack up scores against teams like Anchorage gives guys like that some more confidence going into conference play. I do think that there is a benefit of that. Again, I think there is more of a balance. Like you don't have to load up and play 2 blue bloods like you did last year. But I would have liked to have seen one kind of test series in non-conference prior to taking the ice against Western this coming weekend. But as it stands, I mean, it was a pretty soft non-conference schedule. Let's say they only went 5-2, one of those in overtime. But it's not like, I mean, I don't think any of these teams that they played so far is going to be a top 20 team. So it's going 5-2 in that schedule, you're a decent team. I think you go 7-0 in that stretch. So it a bit of a disappointment, but like I said, if from the individual player standpoint, especially from the young guys, if this kind of gets them feeling good going in conference play and getting monkeys off their back before like goalless streaks go on too long, the young guys have looked pretty good in this first month. And so I'll take that as a positive, even if I don't know if this schedule has necessarily prepared them. Like they might be a little taken aback once, for the first couple of shifts against Western, because it's going to be a speed and a physicality and a skill level that they haven't quite seen yet this year.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. When it comes to, how well that our freshman has done so far, because, I think obviously Rode and Ernest, I think is especially has stood up, but also, if Hendricks does play him on the back end, trying to compete with, Western Michigan and their tenacious forecheck and just all the weapons that they have. Yeah,
he's going to want to be out there because his brother Ty is on Western, so you know that we want to see a Hendricks v. Hendricks matchup this weekend.
A Hendricks Bowl is what this one will be known as. So, it's So I mean, if you want, I don't know if we have much more to say about Alaska Anchorage. Otherwise, we can just go ahead and give me your POW.
I mean, we've talked enough about Brnovik. I mean, is it that? I don't know if I should overthink it. I really haven't thought about my POW this week. Do you have a POW top of mind? Because I'm going to go with Brnovik unless you've got a better case for somebody else, or give me a minute to think.
I mean, I thought everyone over the weekend, had a solid outing. I was happy with, how but he played, and people getting on the score sheet. I feel like this, though, I might kind of cheat out a little bit and, maybe not give it to someone who I thought was exactly the best, but, somebody, kind of spread the love around a little bit. So with that, I was debating even with Finn Loftus. He got a goal, and I thought also defensively, I thought he played really well. Especially he might have been one that was scratched on Friday, and then comes in to kind of save the day and end up scoring a goal, after Hendricks. So I'm between that and Ernest. Ernest with 3 points on the weekend as well. But I did give it to Brnovic last week, which maybe I should have given it to Showstack last week. But if that's the case, I'm probably going to lean a little bit more Ernest as kind of coming in and very happy with how he's played this year.
They're saying it on the TV feed or the TV broadcast. Bert, it's kind of a Sesame Street theme with Bernie and Ernie, but Bert and Ernie, with Ernest as Ernie and Brnovic as Bert. I kind of like that.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, Ernest and Rode have been, I think, the standouts in terms of the freshmen so far this year. I think that's kind of what we expected. But
them coming in, I thought that's what Thorson was going to be last year.
I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of want to talk to him after I have my pal. Let's put a pin in that because I want to come back to Thorson. I think I'm going to give it to Brnovic just because top of mind with his performance this weekend, it was the most standout performance. I do want to throw out some love to Tyson Gross. He was my pal last week. Couple of assists.
He's just our consistent game out.
He's in that conversation. We talked about Barrett Hall maybe being the best 200-foot player. I think Gross is the other guy in that conversation. Part of this is Alaska Anchorage's ineptitude, but 40 for 47 this weekend in the faceoff dot.
Yeah, that's
was
crazy.
Tyson Gross, and I looked on collegehockeyinc.com, which is, I believe, the only site that you can find this on. I think the NCAA's website can, but it's difficult to sort through all their statistics. But according to College Hockey Inc., he is the nationwide leader in faceoff percentage among guys who have taken 30 or more chances. 69.4%.
Nice.
On his face-off percentage. And a lot of that obviously due to this past weekend with, that's like close to a 90%. It is, I think, about a 90%, 85% or so face-off percentage against the Seawolves this weekend. And he's had a couple of assists and he plays a full game. And we'll talk about like the women's side, they've been really struggling with face-offs. Yeah. Men's side, especially with Gross, that's been a strength, and it's just better. Again, I don't like to dog on Sahlquist, not on the team anymore, but it's great that our best face-off specialist is also one of our best players. Like that's an overlap there. We don't have to have a guy like Rosborough isn't our best face-off guy, and we see more of Rosborough than we need to. But Gross at 70% roughly in his face-off percentage, and also adding point total and also adding those intangibles, penalty kill, back checking. It is nice to see. But so, he would have been a worthy pal, but I am going to go with Brnovic more just for the wow factor and the fact that he's really perfected that one timer. And if we can see that in conference play, when the wins are really at an NPI premium, even better.
And just quickly, because I really do want to, I want to hear your Thorson take. But we talk about obviously Brnovic on the power play, but Smolinski power play goal as well. And then on Saturday, Wiley, Ernest power play goals. You said it's clicking, and we can talk about the level of competition when it comes to it. But what I really like is, we have that power play, or we have that Brnovik shot, and obviously he's deadly with it. But I feel like our success is that we don't rely on it nearly as much as maybe we did in the past with or maybe we did even last year. Whereas we do still have different looks. I've saw us use the bumper pretty effectively. I like that we're maybe a little bit more patient and we do look for passes. I think our power play in general has a little bit more movement with it, which is always something I like to see. Stagnant power play is just so easy to defend, but I feel like we're moving, creating chances, creating lanes. And, I don't feel like we force that one timer. I think when we cause the confusion and it's given to us, then we take that opportunity. And yeah, it's really successful when we do. But I mean, like Smolinski's where Barrett Hall was coming across and he was able to make that drop pass, or, Ernest coming in too. I think we've got different looks, and I think that's what the success really is. And that's what I'm really, really happy to see with this team.
And we've mentioned that the two units have a different setup. We've got one defenseman with Wiley on the number one unit with Brnovik. But then we also got the Smolinski Zinger was with that unit this weekend, basically 4 Henriks who had been with Smolinski on that second unit. Because of that sort of positional difference, there is a different flavor to each power play unit, which I like. I mean, I was one early in the season, going back last year and years before, saying I'm not a huge fan of Wiley being a sole defenseman on a power play unit, but I'll maybe retract that for now because he's looked really good. He scored a power play goal in one of these games. He's looked the part of a good power play quarterback so far this year. And I did have that same thought about now that we've seen Brnovik sort of getting that shot down pat. Is this going to be? It reminded me of VD from a couple years ago, when that power play was clicking, really the only time it was clicking, and it was a 20+%. It was a better than average power play unit nationwide, but it really only relied on if Miettinen was hitting his spot, and if it wasn't, that was the only play that they had in their playbook, and they didn't really have a plan B, and they certainly didn't have like a unit B beyond a VD Miettinen led power play unit. But the fact that you have a second unit that I think has a different look and a different feel, and it has, some different plays in the playbook, I think that keeps the opponent on their toes, and you can't just defend against the one sniper on the unit, in this case, Brnovik. So I think it's as deadly, or at least statistically, it's deadlier than those good VD-led power plays from a couple of years ago. I do think that there is some more depth, some more tools in your second unit that makes your first unit better, because that makes that the teams are more difficult to defend against. They can't defend against either unit. So yeah, I definitely think it's you're not going to have a 40% power play for the entire season. Certainly that's going to come down to the mean a little bit, but the fact that it's not just the Brnovik unit, it is something that I've picked up on as well, is that's a good thing.
Maybe a little bit of a minor correction.
You done messed up, Aaron!
I did say, in the opening weekend, how I couldn't find the gift shop for the Huskies, and it turns out that's because they moved it to more inside in, kind of in the Husky den. But it's not on the side. It's like where you enter, like in between the concession stands, kind of right in the middle. I didn't see it because I think there was a vendor kind of set up beforehand. So I just kind of obviously walked by and kept going straight on that. So you do have a shop there. It just moves. Yeah, exactly. So I did mess up on that, but I wanted to make sure I correct the record on that. And also, my kid was one of the mites, one of the little chippers there,
nice.
in during the intermission. So he got to go out and skate on the ice during the second intermission. Played right in front of the dog pound. I was a pretty happy dad, not gonna lie. So it was.
Do you have to go down into the bowels of the Herb to sort of get him all prepared? And then were you watching kind of down there, or were you in the stands by that point? What do you do during the Little Chippers as a dad of a participant?
Yeah, just stood right in the kind of by the Zamboni doors. Just okay. There was a whole pack of parents right there. I was just lucky to have my kid on the side where it was closest, so I was able to get a good view of him.
You gonna get the skates on one of these weeks?
What was that?
You gonna get the skates on one of these weeks and be one of the dads that sort of directs traffic?
I would imagine, like, eventually they're gonna ask me to volunteer, and I'm gonna say yes. I mean, they're always.
You do, guy. Talk about a advertising opportunity for the podcast. Get you something, some neon sign to attach to your headwear, right? Of some sort. Listen, brought to you by Gritty St. Cloud.
By Gritty St. Cloud presents the Huskies Hockey Podcast.
HHP. So, listen in, tune in.
Yep. So perfect. But also, St. Cloud, I've said that, get people in the buildings. And, with that, I was offered discounted tickets and they reached out to the association. So it's good to see them really trying to do what they can to get people back into the Herb, get people there. And, maybe I got discounted tickets, but at the same time, I spent about $120 on concession and Jupiter Moon ice cream. So, you get people in the seats. Eventually, you'll get them, and I can't go without Jupiter Moon. What can I say?
Yeah, and I mean, fireworks in the parking lot? Fireworks? Was that just on Saturday? I would assume
that was on Saturday. Fireworks in the parking lot. No couch fires reported.
No riots. It's good. It's good. Keeping out of the paper, keeping out of the crime blotter part of the paper, right? At least. Well, they don't have papers anymore, but you get it. Did you do that 90s concert downtown?
Sadly, no. I was too busy running around doing some other stuff with the family. I couldn't make it downtown. I tried to, but my schedule wouldn't allow it with everything else that I had to do that day. So I was a little bit bummed about that.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing would have, nothing would have actually pleased me more than to be able to dance to rock music at the remains of the press. Just a flashback. Correct. And then I could have made the joke right there. The press never looked better. So,
yeah. But like I said, the obviously attendance is a hobby horse of mine. Cloud coverage hockey at substack.com if you want a 5-part series about the St. Cloud State hockey attendance over the years. But I've been tracking it, and this was the best crowd of the year. It's the first time they've cracked 4,000 in attendance this year, which was expected because homecoming's been a good draw for them lately. I did a prediction this year on attendance, and it was admittedly a rosy prediction, and I should have not been that rosy because I've been about 10% too high on my prediction so far this year, which if it stays the course, it currently would be on track to be in the lowest average attendance in the Herb's history. But haven't seen UND yet, haven't seen Duluth. Senior night is usually pretty good, so they'll have some better crowds this year, but at least in the October sample size, this set of non-conference opponents did not exactly pack the Herb. And as I mentioned in one of the last articles in that series, they do have the Halloween game this year, which has been a very bad date for Huskies hockey. I'm assuming that's going to be the lowest crowd of the year this Friday, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
But also, you made the point that the hunting opener does not coincide.
That's, I think, the weekend after. So the second weekend in November. So they don't have any games in deer hunting in firearms season this year, which is like last year they had several. I think they had 3 series in November. So they've had a lot in recent years, but they get a break this year. with that. And after this series, then you got UND. That'll probably be your top crowd of the year, is that Saturday UND game. So we'll get to see some of our lovely North Dakota fans shortly. But I'm always keeping an eye on that attendance, and it was at least good to see. Even on the broadcast, it was nice to see a good crowd on Saturday.
Yep. And I thought the student section as well. I thought they did really well. Although Jason Bryant, when teams are at full strength, he doesn't say Alaska Anchorage at full strength, because I wanted to yell and they still suck and they couldn't do it. So I was a little bit confused there. I was like, I don't know what to do with my chants. Some of my chants are different, but
was he doing that for all of those? But then I was gonna say, well, Anchorage didn't kill off too many power plays.
I mean, that's also
St.
true.
Cloud was scoring a lot on the power plays.
It was scored them on. So, Kevin Thorson take, what is it?
Well, kind of like how I was saying, how one of the benefits from playing an easier non-conference schedule is it gets young guys' confidence up. I forgot to mention Aiden Welch. That was a goal that I think was originally credited to Damon Gardner, and they changed it to Welch. So another freshman gets his first goal of the season. And the notable zeros, I mean, Gardner's one, I guess, but the most notable zeros in the goal scoring category so far is Ingram and Thorson. Two guys, if you look in that cloud coverage preview of the season, two guys that I thought were like the X factors this year, coming off disappointing seasons last year. They can rebound in a big way. That could be a reason that St. Cloud threatens for NCAA qualification this year. And Ingram missed the first game of the season with an academic suspension. So, I mean, he was idle for one of the games so far this year. Thorson's been playing in all 7 games. Ingram's been fine. I think he's been noticeable on the ice. He's been getting power play opportunities. Thorson has as well. It's not like I don't notice these guys. They're in the plays. Their names are being called by the announcers. It's just it's just they're either snake bitten or it's just not quite clicking yet. And 1 month into the season, again, against this sort of 7 games, which I don't think we're really seeing the cream of the crop here, opponent wise, those stand out as noticeable goose eggs. And I mean, is it to a point like our expectations too high, especially for a guy like Thorson?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I think now I have to kind of readjust, and I'm starting to readjust my expectations for Ingram. That the goal scoring that we did see early in his career, it's gone. It's not there anymore. And I think maybe last year he was really trying to force it. And it just never came. And it didn't come for anyone on the team, really. But actually, as far as Ingram goes, I've actually been happy with his play from an all-around aspect and putting point. I mean, he's distributing the puck really well, and I think he's making really good changes or decisions when he's on the power play as well. So I'm actually, I think he's got 5 assists off the top of my head, 5 assists on the season. So it's. But I like the goal scoring touch that he had, I think is gone. Maybe it'll get there. Maybe it'll show up. But I've come now to just kind of accept the type of player he is. And for that, I think it's pretty solid. So, but as far as Thorson is, I do think also maybe we're misusing him a little bit. I don't know if Larson, to put him in front of the net at times on the power play doesn't make any sense to me, because we have seen his shot, what he is capable of. And I don't think that's the best use of his type of talent is to kind of put him in that area. When he's used maybe down low a little bit more effectively, or in a bumper position. But it's, I know we've got better options at this point to put in that, that middle position. Obviously, like Barrett Hall, I think has done a wonderful job there. So I don't know. He's kind of an enigma, and I'm waiting for something to kind of jumpstart for his game, because I do think with the goal scorers it's going to happen, and I'm just waiting for that first kind of breakout weekend, and we'll see if everything kind of snowballs and he gets that confidence.
I wonder. I mean, if he's not going to be playing in a low slot area position, I think that might be the best spot for him. I can't see him as being more of like a cycler type. I like his grit, and I think he likes that. He's got a nose for the net, and he likes to get dirty. I'm not even like disappointed, yes, but at the same time, if we are disappointed, and we're going to lump Ingram into this as well, like, does that mean that we should reconsider the kinds of opportunities that they like? Should they be on power play situations if they're not being able to score goals? I would stop short of saying that we need to take them off those kind of units. I mean, I think there's promise there, in the other sense is who else are you going to put there? I mean, if we're disappointed with Ingram and Thorson, they're more productive than the guys that have cycled through the fourth line, which, I mean, Ryman, Ashan, and Rosborough, and Rogers. We can lump in a Coin, who's got 2 games as well. Those 5 guys I just mentioned, 2 points combined for all of them. So, I mean, the top of the score sheet here: Bernovic, Hall, Gross, Rode, Ernest. Those are your 5 top scoring forwards, and Ingram tied there. All those guys are getting power play opportunities. So it's not like we're putting Thorson in favor of guys who are more productive who aren't getting that opportunity. So perhaps one of the things we just need to wait it out, but it feels like it's now been a year plus a month, and we're still kind of waiting for Thorson's big breakthrough, and we're still kind of waiting for Ingram. Although I would agree with you too, he seems less timid, Ingram. Last year, that was the big thing, where he didn't seem like he wanted to handle the puck. Wanted to get rid of it as soon as he got it. He seems a little bit more confident. It just needs to translate into finding the back of the net, and hopefully we'll see that going forward. But yeah, I do think that if we're having these conversations about these players, and we're talking about more depth scoring, again, we don't really think of that when we think of a guy like Ingram, who's been at the top of the score sheet in years past. But that's kind of what he's settled into. And if we can get guys like Rode and Ernest, newcomers like that, to pick up the slack and provide the scoring that those guys have lacked, I guess any sort of output from those players that we've mentioned that are disappointing so far is just going to be maybe a bonus so far this year. And that's fine. It's okay for our expectations to evolve throughout a year. I think that's part of being a fan.
As we're talking about it, before we hop into Western, really quickly, Zamora did send me a text message for a question for the podcast. Are the Huskies, have they turned a corner, or is Anchorage just that bad?
I would just hesitate. I would pump the brake. If people are saying, like, we're back, baby, again, I think Anchorage is going to be in the running for the worst team in NPI this year. So I thought they were a very, very, very bad team. I was not impressed with Vermont. I mean, Vermont was a little bit better than Anchorage, mostly because they had a goaltender that could stop the puck. I didn't think Vermont's going to be like in the 40s or 50s, probably, if I'm going to guess. So, yeah, it's even if this was a 7-0 team, which they very easily could be, I'd be pumping the brakes, because I don't really think St. Tom's that good. Bemidji's kind of mid. So St. Thomas might be probably is the best of the 4 teams. And I don't really think they're that great. So we're going to find out a lot more about this team coming up this weekend. So, and I said this in that season preview, we're probably going to score more goals this year just because of the weaker non-conference schedule. And that can be a bit of an illusion that you've got to see through. But at least we're seeing guys hit the back of the net. That's a sight for sore eyes based on the kind of lack of offense that we saw all of last year. So we'll take it, but just take it with a grain of salt because, yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's easy when you're playing a type of team like Anchorage that is struggling. It's going to struggle mightily this year. I was happy to hear that Jim Erickson was saying that they're going back to Sullivan next year, which I guess was under renovations, which was why they were in this sort of more practice facility type facility that they've been in the last few years. I mean, that will help them. The fact that they're not in a conference hurts in terms of recruiting, but if they can get a facility, like a full-time facility back, and I'm wondering too if that means that Sullivan's no longer an Olympics size sheet, if they did some renovations to it. But I mean, we've talked about it, and we like the fact of Anchorage being part of college hockey. It hits our nostalgia bone. So we wish them well, but yeah, it doesn't hurt. It's not like we're speaking in bad faith to say that was not a good hockey team that we saw this weekend.
Yep. When you're saying though, people, hitting the back of the net, in our non-conference schedule so far this year, we've had 4 games decided by 2 goals, or that we've won by 2 goals or more. And all of last year, only 4 of our wins were 2 goals or more. So we've already equaled that. So that's good, courtesy of Go Huskies Woo. So thank you for that stat. But it's good to see. And I agree. It's, not a lot to glean from it from that aspect, but I am liking how we're moving the puck. I think this weekend, I think our passing was a lot more crisp. And I thought I liked our intensity. So Western Michigan is going to be a different beast. So, them, shockingly so far, their power play percentage is terrible. Only clipping at about 8%, which is good because our penalty kill is sitting at 76%. So it's not like our penalty kill is lighting the world on fire. But, defending national champs, played them 4 times last year. They handled us all 4 times, pretty much with no contest. And they were able to obviously win the national title. What are you kind of looking out of this team? And, with them sitting at a 4-2 record, I think us show had them at 2-3, somewhere up there. Splitting against Michigan here last weekend. So 0-4 at Yost, and then 5-2 in the home and home. So what are you kind of looking forward for the Huskies? What is going to be kind of the key to the game?
Yeah, it's just everything ramps up this weekend. You're going to see a team that runs 4 lines. Last year they were a very deep team. With a lot of weapons that St. Cloud was just not capable of handling a team like Western. None of those games were very competitive in Kalamazoo against these 2 teams. I think Posh played in 3 of those, came back after his injury, maybe even a little bit early because the team was so sort of spiraling out of control. Even Posh couldn't stop the damage. But this was a deep, solid Western team last year, and I didn't think that they noticeably got much worse. Losing guys like Alex Bump and Paul Washy from last year's team, their 2 biggest losses, and they had big years last year, but they were returning a lot, including their goaltender, Hampton Slukinski. He's kind of looked human so far this year, just a .902 save. But he's better than those numbers would suggest. His brother Grant is leading their team in scoring right now. They got some good guys in the portal last year. The Zachariah Wisdom they got from CC, who's been productive against the Huskies in a Tigers uniform in the past. William Whitelaw is playing on his 3rd team. I think St. Cloud has seen him. Did they play him? Because he started with Wisconsin, then he played with Michigan, which St. Cloud would have seen him last year Yeah, I don't think they played Wisconsin in the 23-24
No, he didn't
season.
play
That's the
Wisconsin.
year before that. I was going to say could have seen him 3 different jerseys, but he's off to a good start with Western this year. He's actually leading the team in goal scoring right now with 4. But Vicenen, that defenseman they had from last year, who had a great freshman season, he might be their most dynamic point man. They've just got a lot of weapons. Owen Michaels, who had a great postseason, especially last year. I mean, they had so many guys. I look back at their team from last year, just layers and layers of scoring. And so it's going to be a test that St. Cloud has not quite seen this year. And just, I mean, if we can get it split out of this team, I think it'll be just fine. And I think it's possible. I mean, if St. Cloud, again, I still think 5-on-5 play is going to be something that's going to be a challenge, especially against better teams like we're going to see in Western this weekend. But we've seen the power play carry the day for the Huskies in a couple of games this year. If that can be the difference, I mean, if the St. Cloud is going to win a game this weekend, I think power play is going to play a major factor. So if we could see guys like Brnovic, like, again, if the benefit of this non-conference schedule is getting Brnovic's one-timer perfected, it was worth it. Because if we can see that kind of shot beats Lukinski once or twice this weekend, we're going to be in decent shape. And I think, obviously, if Hendricks plays, I think that only improves your overall back end, because you're going to need good team defense, and you're going to need skating and stamina. This is a well-coached, disciplined Western team that can just outlast you with their skill and their speed. So because being able to keep up with them is going to be paramount. But I mean, we're expecting Showstack, right? I mean, Berzins has played twice. Showstack's played the other 5 games in so far this year. Just based on that alone, we're going with Showstack on Friday, right?
Yeah, Showstack will probably play on Friday. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if you give Berzins a shot. I mean, it's
kind of in a weird spot right now. I feel like Showstack is the number 1 goalie, but it's still early. Like that could. There's definitely time for that to change. Berzins has only gotten
that friendly competition.
No, and Berzins has only gotten Saturday starts so far this year. I wonder if he's going to get a Friday start. Sometimes you're in that Friday position. You're almost playing for Saturday. Like, if you play well enough on Friday, that means you can gain the start on Saturday. Whereas if you play more average, then we'll go with Berzins. So I'm wondering if perhaps Berzins at some point, I'm not saying this weekend, but at some point, gets a Friday start, that he's in that position to perhaps win the weekend, so to speak, among the goaltenders. I'd be fine with it. Again, both goalies have looked good this year. But that's just kind of my hunch, is that I think that Showstack is right now just a slightly above him on the depth chart, and we've seen that play out with the number of games played so far. So I don't know. I'm going to say a split this weekend. What are you thinking?
I'll optimistically say a split as well. Quick pop quiz. Or maybe not a pop quiz, because that assumes there's a right or wrong answer. Which is the worst loss, us to Vermont or Western Michigan to Ferris State?
Well, I mean, the overtime loss, you get a little bit of NPI points because of that.
Do you want to switch to... I guess we'll find out by the end of the year with St. Thomas. I mean, both of them were the first game of the season.
Of those, I think Ferris is worse. But I don't know. There's a math aspect that I'm not equipped enough to answer whether or not an overtime loss versus a regulation loss. I'll probably because you're getting some points, I'll say a home loss to Ferris Evans State. I don't think Ferris is going to be very good either. They're going to be in the 40s, I bet. So yeah, I'll say that.
It's quite the.
Would you agree?
50 to 18 shots. I mean, that's the one that really shook me. I was like, holy cow. I mean, probably is the biggest quote unquote, even though I hate it this early, upset. Which, I mean, if we want to go there, Penn State barely surviving Stonehill twice. I mean, that's something that I didn't have on my.
They had to go to overtime against Long Island. That Sharman schedule. I mean,
yeah,
I think McKenna had a good one of the 2 games against Stonehill. I think he got 2 or 3 points, but he has not been racking up the points against the softies that people thought.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Western really. I mean, the series they had against Michigan was clearly their biggest test this season. But Ferris, I mean, that was a surprise that they dropped a game to them, and I don't think UMass Lowell's very good either. They went out there and swept them. Which on the road, sure, that's impressive. But I don't think that's going to really turn many heads. So, both teams kicking off conference play, there is a bit of a, I don't know. It's not like opening day baseball, but there is a bit of a tradition to opening conference play. Let's get it off on the right foot.
Exactly. Let's hop on over to the women. Unless there's any other aspects of the men's side that you want to talk about quick.
Nope. Let's get depressed by talking about the women's team.
The women's team fall to Ohio State 5-1 on Friday, and then Saturday 4-2 as well at Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State 3 straight national championship appearances. And the, clear cut, one of the top 2 teams in the country. All of a sudden here, we're looking at the Huskies, that have one overtime win in their last 7 games. Now granted, obviously Ohio State and then Minnesota. So, great teams there, Connecticut, I don't think is a slouch, but you'd like to have that. But St. Thomas, those 2 overtime. But your tweet that you sent out after Saturday's game has really stuck with me. And that is both, these are conference points that you're letting slip away. For Saturday against St. Thomas, Saturday against Ohio State, you had 2-goal leads in the third period, and you're not able to convert those into meaningful points. And it goes back to, I think, what Adulski said last season about, when we, ruined our chances against Minnesota Duluth, where it's like we get to this shocked aspect where, we let in a goal or things don't go our way, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here we get Charlie Brown aspect, I think, where it's like, oh, here we go again. Now it's gonna all fall, and then we get some of that, doom and gloom kind of happening on the ice. So it's
time for some more doom and gloom. We're already here.
I wouldn't say
it's not even November, and we're playing the doom and gloom
say we're here. I'm saying that if things
literally said doom and gloom. Charlie Brown. We Charlie Browned it.
Hold on a second. I'm not saying that I'm down on this team or down on the season, but I'm saying if things start not going our way, things spiral, and we haven't been able in the past couple of years even been able to reset that mindset and get them to be like, you are good enough to close out these games against Ohio State. Because I think on Saturday they were playing well enough too. And then all of a sudden the wheels just completely fall off there on Saturday. Penalty is called, upgraded to a major, which I didn't think was the right call. I was really ticked off that it went to the review. And then when review went that long, I was like, Peon's like 5'11", 6 foot out there, 6'1" on skates. And it's like, of course they're going to find contact to the head somehow. And, obviously it's Ohio State's cameras and I couldn't tell anything anyway, but you're going to give it to Muzzerall. You're going to give it to Ohio State. You're going to give them the chance, and they're going to go ahead and then, yeah, we start sulking, and then we let Cho back out to dry a couple times there. And then all of a sudden there we're at 4-2 when we were up 2-0. And it was just it was just so frustrating to watch that collapse.
It was. I hate to say that I kind of saw it coming too. That's I think the most depressing part of it is that once the penalty was called, or once the major was called on it, I was almost shocked that it took them 3+ minutes to score the tying goal.
Yeah. And
then very shortly after, what I wanted them to do is see that second goal. This has been a play that's emerged in the last couple of years. I was trying to think. I thought that this play was it last year's either Frozen Four or maybe the NCAA tournament, maybe a regional game. I have a thought that Penn State was involved. It could have even been an NHL playoff game. I can't remember. But it's where this player camps in front of the net, and he's got like one knee down, and he's got the other skate like perpendicular, or let's say parallel to the goal line. And sometimes they'll put the skate or the stick parallel to the skate, and they're just trying for the redirect. But they almost play it where they want it to go off the skate and in. It's like the set play, and it's not a kicking motion because all they're just keeping their foot stationary to the ice. And this is what Dunn did for that second goal. I think she might have actually gotten a stick on it, but it was. I mean, even their announcers announced it where it's, Ohio State's just like the FBI, always kicking in the back door. And then they showed the replay. I'm like, did that go off the skate? And I don't think that they would have overturned it, but I wanted Yolosuo to challenge that play. Not so much that it would have been overturned, but just to stop the momentum. Because I knew that they were going to score right away after that. And at least to give them a minute or two to have to look at those terrible angles at that terrible arena would have at least
thought of not doing that to give them, power play time and momentum, or the power play, get them extra rest. I get that aspect of it. But at that time, you got to do something because everyone knew, everyone had this sight of this is all going to collapse. And you're completely right. You got to do something there.
And I do hate that. I'm not a fan of that play. Because again, I think it is a strategy that's clever. It's almost too clever by half. And you're almost wanting and I know that you're a guy that you don't like to have reasons to wave off goals. But if you're trying to put it in with your foot, this isn't soccer. Put it in with your stick, which Dunn might have. Again, the angles, and that's one of the things about games at Ohio State. I feel like I miss half the game because you're watching it through the trash.
It's just garbage there.
It's hard to gauge even the quality of play. I felt like all weekend St. Cloud was skating uphill, especially Saturday. I was shocked that they were winning 2-0 because they were being outshot, being out controlled in possession all weekend by a steady advantage. We're talking about face-offs on the men's side, about how gross, and guys like that have been really good on face-offs. It's been the opposite for the women's side. The 2 games against Lindenwood, they outshot the Lions, and then the game they lost at UConn, they outshot their opponent. But all the other games this year, they've been outshot, and by significant advantages, 20 plus shots a couple of times last week against St. Thomas, a team that's not well known for being face-off specialists. You sort of get it with the Gophers and Ohio State, but still that puts you on the back foot, in neutral zone or even offensive or defensive zone situations. You're losing face-offs. Sunderland especially was struggling this weekend with face-offs. That's going to put you behind the 8 ball. And it was something that St. Cloud was struggling to. There was really not a point in the game, even on their power play opportunities, where they controlled play in their own zone for a minute or two. It just was one and dones. And the fact that they were up 2-0 was kind of miraculous at that point. Especially didn't have McCallion for Saturday, didn't have Peyton Holloway. You're playing shorthanded. You seemingly weren't a big fan of the line shuffling that they did on Saturday, breaking up Sunderland and Sorial, putting players like
I'm
Sven
okay
Vogt
with
on the top line.
breaking up Sunderland and Sorial for instances like this, and maybe going back to it when you need to. But when you're looking at the line sheet and you see, you've got Sven Vogt there on the first line, and she's got 5 career goals. She didn't score a goal last year, only 3 points. So that's where I'm like a little bit worried of, you're going up against Ohio State where, you got to do everything you can to get yourself in the best, and someone who just hasn't been a goal scorer, you put them on the top line. That doesn't really bode well. I don't think. Now, it's not like we have a ton of goal scorers to put there, and I get that aspect of it. But maybe you try something there with a freshman with like Remick or something or try LeBay up there. Just I don't know. Just kind of my thought is that someone who is not been really known as a goal scorer put it up as top line. I don't think that
I get it. I think that there was breaking up Sunderland, and I mean we talked about it in the Gopher series or after the Gopher series about Sunderland and Sorial being quiet in that weekend, and same thing here. I do think opponents, especially the good opponents, cream of the crop, the WCHA, are going to focus on those 2 players in particular. If they defend those 2 players, they realize there isn't the kind of second wave of offensive options that the other teams in that upper echelon have. I think that the way that the line sheet looked, I wouldn't put it past the coaching staff to have picked names out of a hat, which sometimes teams do. I mean, they lost decidedly on Friday. It could have been just a fun way to get the team loose for a Saturday performance, especially one that was going to be without some key performers. I mean, Holloway, we've talked about McKaylian all year, but Holloway's kind of been a under the radar kind of good, solid performer as well. I think she had 3-point streak before being left out on Friday. And being a center as well. I mean, that was one more center down. You put Zimmerman on that top line as the center. I don't know if she's had center experience this year yet. I think so, but limited. She's mostly been playing with Sunderland and Sorial the last couple of weeks. I think if it wasn't we're just going to pick players out of a hat, which I don't even think is like a bad idea. I think it may have been a strategic play to try to clamp down on Ohio State's top line. I don't know if putting Sorial with Zimmerman and Vogt makes the most sense. If you're just going to have we're going to put the Rosborough line to match up against the team, the Dunn line for Ohio State, for instance, their top line, I think there's some good value in that. But putting Sorial with that line kind of neuters her. And then with Sunderland on another line without Sorial, I don't know. Maybe it's hard because Ohio State has last change. They have, they can defend more easily against St. Cloud's line. So maybe splitting those 2 players up was something that the coaching staff felt was going to be in the best interest of the Huskies. I agree. Obviously, with a player like Vogt's career line, it's not going to be impressing anyone necessarily, but in terms of a team that's kind of hit the skids against top competition of late, trying something different, I'm not so opposed to that. Although, like I said, and I don't think they had a ton of options with the amount of injuries that they were suddenly facing on Saturday. And I'm not sure what, I had to remember, because I watched the entire game on Friday till the very end because of that fight incident with the Gophers at the end of that game. Sort of wanted to just make sure that the game wasn't going to get out of hand, any sort of similar shenanigans. I realized, though, that after seeing Muzzerall in the middle of that game, there wasn't going to be any post-game shenanigans because I think first pitch of the World Series was starting pretty soon, and she needed to see that Blue Jays game.
She needed to see the Blue Jays out there.
I had to rewind that on my tablet. I was watching from work. I'm like, that's like the Scott Rowland era Toronto Blue Jays, like random, like not a peak era of that franchise.
Nope.
She's actually wearing an untucked baseball jersey of a different sport, of a different country's team. Yes, she's Canadian, and I would assume a Blue Jays fan. That one was that's a new one. Mad props.
That's pretty awesome. Yep.
I felt like she needed to get going there. There wasn't going to be any hijinks after the game. So I'd assume both injuries there'd be no other reason to bench McCallion and Holloway, as I mentioned, is been playing well of late as well. So you're playing shorthanded already, and you need a bit of a spark. I'm fine with the kind of juggling of the lines. I would like to see a reunion of Sunderland and Sorial, just because we've seen how well they play together. But again, if we're coming at this whenever you're playing a top 4 WCHA team and these players are held off the score sheet, and in Sunderland's case, not winning draws ever, that raises some concerns. It's one thing to play, lights out against St. Thomas or, a team like, Bemidji or something, bottom team and bottom feeder in the WCHA, or a Lindenwood, for instance. But if we're not getting those kind of performances, your stars don't come out against the top teams, it's going to be a long season when we're playing teams of that caliber. So it's frustrating. And the fact that you were as close as you were, even with all of that considered, playing shorthanded and kind of playing uphill all weekend, you still had that 2-goal lead in the third period. And so it doubly a gut punch. Because even like you would have split this weekend, that would have kind of made up, in my mind, that would have made up the disappointment against St. Thomas. Ohio State's not going anywhere in terms of, they'll be in the top 2 probably in the NPI all year. Seeing if they're going to shortchange them. Actually, they've been to 4 straight title games, so they're looking to make it 5 this year. Win, loss, win, loss. So they're due for a win if that's the pattern here. 3 in a row against Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's right.
And as far as this sport goes, we might be settling in for a 4th time with those 2 teams matching up in the finals. But frustrating from the Huskies' perspective to drop that game on Saturday, and I definitely see your side of it. It's just I don't know. Pion was real close. She was probably going to be my pal. I didn't like that hit. I didn't like it in real time. I didn't like the call in real time. Seeing the replay a couple of times, I mean, I can see it's a call that refs are going to want to make. Yeah. It was not a play that needed to happen. I don't think that she should have put herself in that position for the refs to look at the video review. She was playing well, and she had the first goal of the game. I thought was a nice play. Kind of jumps up to keep the puck in the zone and puts it back on her stick and rifles it home. She was playing well, and I think she's played well this season. Of the freshman defenders, I think she's been the best of the bunch so far, even exceeding like Lamb, mostly on the fact that Lamb has been injured for a couple of games. But Pion's she's more in like the Ella Anick, Taylor Larson mold. I don't think she's going to put up a bunch of offense, but she's going to mostly be a steady presence on the back end. So I've been liking her play. I thought that was a little too aggressive on that hit, and it led to the game tying and game winning goals, and it's more salt to the wound.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's tough. It's because obviously JoJo saw so many shots. I thought she looked fine. I think some of those she probably wants back. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be kind of tough to pick somebody for the POW. So if I were to get it, I really like LeBay's goal. So I'll give it to LeBay.
She was in consideration for me as well. Second time you've given it to LeBay this year, which I like. She's been another one of the freshmen that's stood out. And again, with Holloway's injury, like we mentioned last show, Holloway and LeBay have developed some chemistry. So that was a blow to have Holloway out for Saturday. It was difficult, obviously, because McKaylin scores the one goal on Friday. She's out on Saturday. I thought Choback, as you mentioned, played well. I'm just not sure if giving up 9 goals, again, the amount of rubber she saw, plus one of those penalty shot on Friday, that was one of those covering the puck in the crease. I guess you give and a receive on those, because Sydney Bryant scored the penalty shot in UConn on a play where UConn covered it in their crease, a defender covered it in their crease, and same sort of situation happens against Ohio State.
I'm sure Ohio State was like one particular cover in the crease back, though.
Yes. Don't bring that one up to Muzzerall. Wisconsin I saw that Kristen Sims is hurt now, but whoever that had replaced her was a freshman. She scored like 6 points this weekend. It's like, God, to have the kind of problems that Wisconsin has is, those are champagne problems. But so I'm going to give it to Wolf. It's not one that stands out. It's more one of those, like, you're overdue for a POW. We've talked about Wolf coming into this season, along with Sunderland and Sorial, sort of your star power. If this team is going to go places this year, it's going to be because of those players having good years. Wolf I think she's done everything that's expected of her and more this year. Defensively, I think she's stepped up. There hasn't been too many situations where I felt that Wolf's been sort of, worked around, beaten easily, gotten her doors blown off, anything like that. And she's providing some offense as well, close to a point per game average from the blue line. So this wasn't a weekend that she stood out as sort of like dominant force, but in terms of someone that's just there and making plays and not giving up plays defensively, I think she's been worthy so far this year of a POW. So maybe as like a cumulative award for this season so far, I'm going to give it to Grace Wolf.
Oh, nice. Minnesota Duluth is on the schedule for this coming weekend here for Friday and Saturday. So the Thanksgiving, Halloween midday. Then obviously Saturday's game at 1:00. Minnesota Duluth obviously has been a thorn in our side for many years. Obviously when we talked about Choback playing both games, that was Kariko again, still injury. Still her status is up in the air here, coming for I would presume for this weekend as well. Got swept by Minnesota 4-rip and then 3-2. They then against Wisconsin as well. They lost 4-3 earlier this year in 4-rip. So it's Minnesota Duluth. It's they're always been a stingy team, and looking at them, kind of their Mary Kate O'Brien, Josie St. Martin, doing really well. Caitlin Kramer, as well as continuing her, really wonderful breakout freshman season that she had. So but I think it's a team here that you've got a couple of, top line stars. You're able to shut them down. If Grace Wolf and they're able to get the matchups, shut them down. I think this is a team that you have the opportunity to kind of take it to. They've got probably the best goaltender in the WCHA with Gascon, who was a little bit shaken up as well at the end of the last game, where there was a pile in front of the Minnesota net. So, we'll see what her status is, but it's kind of a situation where, you got, these are the points that, if you're going to prove that you're in the top 4 of the WCHA, you got to take it to Minnesota Duluth. So I'm really excited to kind of see where we stand up and how we match up against them. And if we're able to get some points this weekend, I'm going to be very optimistic here for the rest of the season. But, first and foremost, we got to get healthy.
Yes. Without McCallion and Kariko. I mean, Kariko's, I think, a huge part here too. I mean, Choback was valiant in her effort in Ohio State, but I mean, it's a goaltender that's not used to playing 2 games a weekend. We've had it really good as Huskies fans last couple of years watching goalie tandems, and it's especially when you're playing a gauntlet of a schedule like you're in the middle of right now. Just giving your goaltenders a bit of a break just for sanity purposes is important. And we don't know what the status of Kariko is. I would really hope that she's back. I mean, you've got a bye week after this week as well. So, I mean, that's one more week of rest if you need it before you play Wisconsin after this series as the gauntlet continues. But I would love to see Kariko out there in one of these games this weekend. And again, when it comes to offense, I mean, McCallion has been one of your, if not your go-to goal scorer, especially in games against top echelon teams. I mean, she scored in games against the Gophers and Ohio State so far this year. Can't say that about Sunderland and Sorrel. So we don't know what the injury is. If it is an injury, it could have been an illness. Who knows? We don't have the kind of reportage that we'd like about our Husky women's team. But a healthy team. It's hard enough for the Huskies to get over the Duluth hump fully healthy. So having a full healthy roster is like step one in being able to rid the curse that is beating this Bulldogs team. So let's hope to see that the team is healthy, and that also we see the stars come out. I'm interested to see what the line sheet's going to look like on Friday.
Yeah.
Are we're gonna see a Sunderland and Sorrel reunion? I would really hope so, because this team is different when they are clicking. It's a different vibe. If they're not, I feel like that first 2 periods and a half against Ohio State, when things are going somewhat well, when you had a lead at least, but yet you're being thoroughly outshot, thoroughly outpossessed, it's not necessarily the best recipe. You might be able to win a game here and there based on that kind of formula, but that your goaltender needs to be on point, and nearly perfect. Like this Ohio State series, it sort of reminded me of the Ohio State series from a couple years ago, and they stole one of those games with a Hola, but in reverse. Because then that Saturday game in that series, it was, I think, 6-1, but it was close going into the second, similar to like this Friday game where Ohio State kind of took over, made it a bit of a rout, even though it was closer about halfway through the game. This was kind of the opposite of that, where again, both games you were thoroughly out, possessed by the Buckeyes, but you were almost able to steal it. You needed to do it. You needed to stand on the head in terms of a goaltending performance, and not blaming Choback for not doing that. It's just it's a difficult formula to follow to consistently win games against teams of this skill level. So I hope to see it. Yeah, the Gascon injury, that was in that Friday game when they were playing the Gophers, taken out after their second goal. I didn't see the replay, but I'm wondering if it was something like the Kariko injury also against the Gophers. Maybe it's just the Gophers are just running goalies. It was not an Abby Murphy goal that took her out. Murphy was scoreless off the score sheet in that Friday game for the Gophers. But but she came back on Saturday.
Yeah, scored 2 of the 3 on Saturday.
Yeah, she had the one-off game, but she definitely made her presence felt on the Saturday game. And then Gascon played that entire game.
You think she's really gunning for that Patty Kaz?
I think she probably is.
14 goals, 7 assists, 21 points in 10 games. Jeez.
She's looking pretty good. Yeah, she went scoreless against Ohio State in one of their games. I was going to say that might have been her first scoreless effort this year, but 2 so far this year. But yeah, not a bad start to the season for her for 21 points. But Gascon did play on that Saturday game, so again, would expect her to play both these games this weekend. I mean, that's the formula for Duluth. It all sort of follows from Gascon. But like you mentioned, they've got weapons like Kramer, Mary Kate O'Brien and Ashley O'Brien. Ashley's been hurt all year, but Mary Kate, she's out there. There is no Ashley O'Brien, but it's a joke. But yeah, we
got it, dude.
There's no secrets about this Duluth, and can we even call it a rivalry? It's too one-sided for it to really be a true rivalry. We need it to actually start evening out wins and losses, because I think there is a natural rivalry between these two teams. We see it on the men's side. Let's pick up a couple wins this weekend and do the same. Get this rivalry really cooking on the women's side as well. I'd love to see it.
The Millwater Cup, as we can call it now.
The JoJo, maybe the trophy would be like a basket of JoJo fries, like potato wedges, because JoJo was a bulldog. So
yeah, exactly. So, what's your prediction then for the weekend?
I hate being Mr. Splitsville, but I'll say split.
Well, that's more optimistic.
And a full regulation win.
That's the thing is I feel like we're going to get an overtime result, and then Duluth is going to take the other one. So maybe an overtime win, able to sneak one out. I'd like to see us to get some kind of victory against these Bulldogs, because we've been so close so many times over the last couple of years, and just for some other reasons just haven't been able to really get over that hump. I think was it last year, 2 years ago? Maybe we had a shootout victory there. Or am I thinking?
I think you're right. I mean, they haven't had a regulation win there, I think, since the McDonald era. It's been a while. And last 3 years they've ended their seasons there in the playoffs, getting swept each year. I think it was a 0-0 game that they won in a shootout. That's a couple of years ago. One of their, I think not only can they not win up there, they can hardly ever score goals, it seems, at Amsoil. Goal scoring has been a little bit better with St. Cloud at the Herb against UMD, but still, it's always a struggle, and these games are going to be close. We've talked about it so many times. Like, there's not a ton separating UMD and St. Cloud. There's, I mean, there was a little bit. There's probably UMD has a better second line, let's say, a second wave of scorers that St. Cloud quite doesn't have. But as far as defense and the goaltenders, I think Gascon's better, let's say, than Choback. But I don't think the separation is huge. It's just part of it's the intangibles. I just think that UMD just has their number, and because of that, St. Cloud's always going to sort of be at a disadvantage. It's very frustrating because you feel like they're in every one of these games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that about does it in this episode. Husky Hockey Podcast. Weldie at More Clappers, MOAR More Clappers. Andrew, you can find him at
Andrew, SCSUHHP. That's on the X Machine, as I mentioned, also on Substack, cloudcoveragehockey.substack.com. Didn't have an ice shavings this past weekend. That might be like an every other weekend feature. Maybe just whenever I have the time and feel like it. I hope to have one out this next weekend here, recapping what's hopefully going to be a good weekend against Western Michigan and UMD.
Exactly. I was going to double check the schedule for the women's team, the results, to just make sure I was right about maybe like an overtime or a shootout win 2 years ago. But obviously CHN and women's hockey, they're not going to do anything. And then I'm trying to go to Ustro, and Ustro revamped like everything from when I last saw it. And I am so lost right now. I had like a visceral shock when I pulled up Ustro. And yep, I can't select other seasons.
I found it. It was February 17th of 2024. It was a 0-0 tie.
It was 0-0, and we were able to win a shootout, right?
Get this. The shootout, we won the shootout 3-2. We scored. We didn't miss in the shootout, and they only missed their last attempt. Gentry, Zimmerman, and Sunderland. Made.
Well,
So,
I'm happy you were able to find it, because when I tried to find it, it brought me over to the men's site all of a sudden.
Yeah, when you're on CHN, you're on the schedule page. You can't hit the like go back a year button, because that'll take you to your men's page. You've got to go to the other seasons tab and then do it that way.
Woden. So.
It's a bug that he's probably not going to fix.
No, he's not. I'm lucky I have an iPhone, because it's got women's scores and updates on the iPhone. Apparently Android
on CHN's app.
Yeah.
Who said? Maybe Jason Bryant was saying that. He was showing me that. I'm like, no, I can't do that on my Android version. So you're lucky you. I've got to use the Ustro app on Android.
Oh, gross.
If you think their website's bad, try their Android app.
So, anyway, until next time, go Huskies. Woo!